In this video, we're going to show you how to install front pads and rotors on your Ford 500, located right behind your front wheel. The process for the driver's side is the same as the passenger side. Now, if you have a hubcap, go ahead and give that a gentle tug outward, pop that off and set it aside. Using your 19mm socket, loosen and remove the 5 lug nuts. Grab your wheel, pull it off, and set it aside. Using a 17mm socket, loosen and remove the 2 slider pin bolts on the brake caliper. Go ahead and work the brake caliper off. You might be able to use a pry bar on the top side, work this back and forth. And use a support tool or a hook to go ahead and hang the caliper up onto the strut spring itself. You may have noticed when you separated the caliper from the bracket itself, these 2 shims may have popped out. So we're just going to go ahead and set those aside for now. Now at this point here, before we remove the 2 big bolts on the backside holding our brake caliper bracket in place, you want to pay attention to the brake rotor itself. If there's a bolt right here, this is a T40 Torx bit bolt. This goes through the brake rotor to the wheel hub. Now if your vehicle does not have this here, you want to go ahead and simply install a lug nut on the threads of one of the studs here to secure the brake rotor. Reason why you want to do this here is that when we remove the 2 bolts on the back, there is a big steel bracket on the back that's used as a stopper. You're going to also have the brake caliper bracket and the brake rotor all loose at the same time, and you don't want to juggle everything here trying to take it apart. Remove your brake pads. Set those aside. There are 2 bolts here, 15mm, holding our brake caliper bracket to the knuckle. Loosen and remove those. There's a bracket on the back here that this bolt also goes through, holding the knuckle. When you remove these bolts here, both this steel stopper as well as the brake caliper bracket will both be loose, as well as the brake rotor. Remove our lower bolt. Set that aside. I'm going to try and hold both of these brackets in place. One hand I'm holding the caliper bracket, the left hand I'm holding the stopper here while I'm removing the bolt. So there we go. And then go ahead and slide that bracket off. Use a T40 Torx bit. Remove that. Grab that brake rotor, slide it off, set it aside. Then we'll want to go ahead and remove our sliders here off of our bracket. I'll pop that off, do the same over here. going to use our wire brush, and we want to pretty much clean the tracks where these were sitting. Now, if you have any scaly rust, you can go ahead and use a file to clean that up a little bit more aggressively if you need to. Once you clean that up, flip it over, repeat for the other side. The reason why we're doing this here is when we install our new sliders or shims there, we want to make sure that they fit nice and flush. Everything looks good there. The next step we want to do is we want to pull our slider pins out. We want to grab a towel, some rags, whatever you have around, and give those a quick wipe down. You can spray these down with a solvent if you want to. You want to do an overall inspection, check for any scoring or any damage on here. Ours looks like it's in good shape. Repeat for the other side. Inspect, look for any damage. It's in good shape. Now at this point here, once you clean off the slider pins, you want to go ahead and inspect the rubber boot that is around here. Now ours is actually torn. See, a piece of it is here. It's supposed to be attached to that, and it's supposed to seal this off. There's room all the way around the edges here. What you want to do is replace these seals. Now, if yours are in good shape and they just slid off the pin here and everything is in good shape, next thing you want to do is clean inside here and get any rust or leftover grease out of that. Now what you can do is spray some solvent into the port. We're going to use a bore brush and go in and clean this out. Go ahead and flush it out. We want to repeat this process for the other side. Now what we're going to do is put some grease on our slider pin. And you don't want it to be super thick. You just want a thin coating. I'm going to put a little bit on the inside of our port here. And then slider pin in. And do the same on this side. Now you'll know if you put too much grease in the port and on the pin, if you push this in and you actually feel resistance and it actually pushes the pin back out. I'm going to flip this up, put a thin coat of grease where these slider shims are going to go. Once again, thin coat, don't want it to be clumped up. Once you have that on there, go ahead and grab your shim, line that up, snap that into place, make sure that it's fully seated on both sides, repeat for the other side. And ready for installation. Now when you receive your new rotor, it's probably going to be inside of a sealed bag. You want to take it out of the bag, use some solvent, and you want to go ahead and clean down the surface and get any of the shipping oils off of the rotor surface itself. Repeat for the other side. Once you've done that, we can go ahead and install the rotor. We're going to apply some anti-seize here to the face of the hub. Line up the brake rotor so that one of the recessed cones here fits onto the hole for the hub. Install that Torx bolt if yours has it, and snug that down. Install your caliper bracket and install your stopper bracket first. I did put some blue Loctite on our bolt as we had from the factory. Slide your bracket in, push the bolt through. Yeah, now that'll tighten. Install your brake pads. Line up these little tabs here with the grooves in your slides. I'm going to go ahead and push the piston back into the caliper. So we're going to use our tool here. I'm going to do this slowly, and what's happening is you're pushing the fluid back through the piston into the line. This is going to allow for us to have clearance to put our new pads in. Install the shims on the pistons. Install your caliper bolts. Torque the 2 bolts for the caliper bracket to the knuckle to 74 foot-pounds. Torque the caliper bolts to the caliper bracket. I'm going to torque those to 44 foot-pounds. Go ahead and line up the wheel with the lug nuts. Install all of the lug nuts by hand first, or at least get them started a few threads. Once these are all started, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Using your torque wrench, go ahead and torque the lug nuts down to 95 foot-pounds. Now when installing the hubcap here, you want to go ahead and make sure that the little notch lines up with the valve stem. You're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.